My name is Nurulan Yazdani, and I'm an EducationUSA advisor based in the Lahore office. Thank you for tuning in today. We have Zeke Montgomery from Drexel University, who will be talking about how to finance a graduate degree real soon. But before I hand it over to Zeke, I would like to introduce you to our organization, who we are, and what we do here at the Lahore office. Yeah. Education USA is part of the US Department of State. In Pakistan, we're just housed within USAFB. Since we're part of the US Department of State, we get accurate and current information for anything and everything to do with higher education in the United States. We help students in finding their best fit, but we do a lot more than that. We do many virtual sessions, such as the one that you're attending right now. We also have a bunch of different free in-house sessions. You can check it out on our website as well for more information on that. We do workshops on GRE during the Fulbright season as well. And we have a library where you can just email us and attend and show up on it and use we have a desktop there. We have different test prep materials there. So if you're studying for GRE, for instance, all you have to do is email us. Our email address is lahore@educationusa.org. But having said all of that, our most famous service has to be one-on-one advising, where once you register, you're assigned an advisor and you work throughout the application with the advisor. This is the email as well where you can reach out to us. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this. Please type your questions in the Q&A box. We will take them at the end of the session. And without any further delay, I'll hand it over to Zeke. Zeke, over to you.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Zeke Montgomery. I am one of the associate directors here at Drexel University. Today, I will be talking a little bit more about financing your degree at Drexel University. I'll also be touching a little bit about the application process because that will tie into some of the scholarship processes and give you a little bit more context. So Drexel University is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We are founded by philanthropist Anthony J. Drexel a little over 120 years ago. We currently have just over 23,000 students between our undergraduate, graduate, and online programs. Graduate students actually make up about 38% of our overall student body. So like I said, Drexel was founded in 1891. We currently have 3 campuses located in Philadelphia, a little over 8,000 total graduate students. And like I said, 37-38% of our overall student body are graduate students. 60% of our students are on campus. We do have a number of online programs. 40% of our students are online. We have over 120 different degree, certificate, PhD programs spread out over about 13 different colleges. And we are also designated as an R1 research institution, which is the highest level designation that you can have regarding research in the United States. We have over 100 international partnerships supporting study, research, and civic engagement abroad. We also have a very involved alumni network that exceeds over 150,000 students. We also 92% of our graduate students 1 year out of graduations are fully employed, and the starting salary typically for graduate students after graduation is about a little over $87,000. So just to look at some of our rankings, we're ranked nationally within the top 100 universities and top 50 private universities in the United States. We were also ranked 18th most innovative university and the 40th comprehensive research university in the United States. We are also nationally ranked 59th for most international students in the United States. And then I just like to share this quote because it really sums up Drexel in a nutshell. I know that the world is going to change and therefore the university must change with it. Drexel is a very innovative school and you'll see that throughout many of our programs. We are on the cutting edge of technology and our professors are experts in the field and we have a very robust co-op component to a number of our programs. So you'll be getting work experience before you even graduate, which is definitely a plus. So this is just a look at some of the ways Drexel has been innovative over the past few decades. In 1983, Drexel became the first university to require all undergraduates to adopt the microcomputer, which was the precursor to laptops and PCs. In 1996, we started offering our first online courses. And in 2000, we became the first major university to have a fully wireless campus. And like I said, we have over 180 different online degree programs and certificate programs. So there's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different programs that may fit what you're looking for. And so this is just the list of colleges that we have. Each college has their own scholarships, grants, and financing opportunities. Today, I'll be giving you a very brief overview of those. But then if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to myself or our office, and we'd be happy to answer any more specific questions. You can also put them in a chat and I'll try to answer them during this presentation. So before we get into the financing options and how to finance your degree, I think it's important to talk about the application process because the application process ties a lot into the financial aid process. And so when you're looking to apply to a program at Drexel, some key things to keep in mind are deadlines, what materials are required for your application. Another key thing is to identify potential funding early on. So whether that's scholarships, grants, private scholarships, loans, things like that. It's very important to start the process early. Because with the visa process, things sometimes can take a little bit longer. So I always recommend if you're applying for fall of, let's say, 2026, I would start looking at programs and start preparing fall of 2025 to make sure you have everything in line so that you're good to go once the application opens and you start the process. And so again, each program and each college has a different application process. So I'll be giving you a very brief overview. One thing to keep in mind is that Drexel has a holistic review process, meaning we look at all aspects of your application. We'll look at your transcripts, letters of recommendation, your essay, and all of this we'll take into account when making a decision. And so generally what programs are going to be asking for are obviously a complete application, all official transcripts, or a WES evaluation or an ECE evaluation. Letters of recommendation, typically it's 2 to 3 for the program, but it'll vary. Essay, resume, and then test scores. For most of our programs, they are optional. There are a few programs that do require the GRE or MCAT, especially our medical programs. But generally speaking, those test scores are optional. With the TOEFL or any kind of English proficiency exam, if you studied in English, then there's a possibility that we would be able to waive those, but you would need to submit your application and transcripts before we can start that process. There are a few programs that have that will require some supplemental documents. Some of them may be portfolios, a writing sample, previous research, things like that. And then some other programs, particularly our PhD programs, will have an interview component with that as well. And so now just to look at our financial aid process and some financial financing opportunities. Some key things to keep in mind, and I had mentioned it earlier, but definitely plan ahead and start the process sooner rather than later. It's important to get all the information that you can, ask all the questions that you can early. Because, like I said, the visa process can be lengthy, and especially if you're applying for a PhD program, those review times can be lengthy as well because it depends on funding and things like that. So definitely start the process early. And in this PowerPoint, I have included some links that we'll share with you so that you have those. The first one is a link to a list of programs that we have, and that will also include the application requirements, deadlines, things like that. I also included a link for the tuition rates for the programs. One thing to keep in mind about the tuition rates is that it's for the current academic year. So if you're looking to apply for next year or in the future, keep in mind that those rates may change. Generally, they'll be about the same, maybe a 1 to 2% increase year to year, but generally, when you're doing your research, this will give you a good idea of the cost of the program. The other thing to keep in mind too is that currently Drexel is on a quarter system. And so each quarter, our academic year is broken up into 4 quarters: fall, winter, spring, and summer. And so when you're planning your finances and you're looking at the tuition rates and things like that, keep in mind that we're on a quarter system and not a semester system. So those are going to look a little different than other institutions that you may be looking at. The other thing too is to start researching financing opportunities. So whether that's scholarships, grants, loans. I'll talk a little bit more about scholarships that Drexel offers with our programs, but I would always recommend to do your own research and look at private scholarships, private grants, and private loans to see if those are, if anything's available or if there's anything that you can apply for to help you finance your degree. At the master's level, we typically don't have any full scholarships for our master's programs. And so it's important to start, doing that research early and looking at those private scholarships. And on the next slide, I have provided some links to some private scholarships, particularly for international students. So it's important to look at those private avenues when doing your research, especially if you're looking at master's programs. Another thing too, when you're starting to do your research and starting to think about financing your degree, is talk to your enrollment counselor, talk to, myself or another member of our team, because they'll help you navigate maybe some different scholarship opportunities, maybe different grants that specific colleges have, or they'll be able to connect you with a specific person in the college that could talk to you a little bit more about a college specific scholarship that may be available, a college specific grant that may be available, or other opportunities that the specific college has that may be available to you. And that kind of ties into my last point, is ask questions. We want to be a resource for you. We want to make sure that we're getting you all the information that we can, so that you can make an informed decision about your academic career. So definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. You can send us an email, you can call us, or set up a one-on-one Zoom appointment, and we'll be happy to answer your questions and help you start that research aspect of your application process. And like I said, we will always be a resource for you, so please ask questions. And so just looking at our scholarships and things like that. So for many of our programs, for master's students, I'm going to break this up between master's and PhD. For our master's students, for many of the colleges, the only scholarships that they offer are our merit-based scholarships. And so those would be our dean's scholarships or any college-based awards. For those are usually based on your GPA. For our merit-based scholarships, there's not an additional application that you have to fill out or any additional steps that you have to take. Once you complete your application and you submit it, you'll automatically be reviewed for those scholarships with your initial application. And if you do receive any scholarships, those will be listed on your acceptance letter in your Discover Drexel portal. Some of our colleges, specifically our College of Business and Engineering, and our College of Computing Informatics, may have additional scholarships that may be available. That would be the time to, if you're accepted, that would be the time to reach out to myself or your specific enrollment counselor, and they'll be able to connect you with the department to talk about any other potential scholarships that may be available. Sometimes it depends on the year and the funding that they have for availability, but it is a potential option, but for those, that would only be after you're accepted to reach out. For graduate assistantships, whether it be a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship, for 99% of our programs, those are for PhD candidates only. All of our PhD programs, if you're full-time, are fully funded with a stipend, with either a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship. And with that, there'd be about 20 hours of work. And like I said, a stipend on top of that. These are, like I said, 99% only for PhD students. We do have a few teaching assistantships or research assistantships for master's programs within our College of Westfall Art and Design. And so those would be our digital media programs, or our architecture programs, or our fashion design programs. Those are the only ones at the master's levels that may have research assistantships or teaching assistantships, but those are there's only a few of them, and for those are primarily held for students that have already completed at least one quarter, and then you're able to apply for those. But that would be down the line. For the PhD programs, again, that's not an additional application process. When you submit your application for the PhD program, you'll automatically be considered for these research assistantships and teaching assistantships. Because like I said, all of our PhD programs, as long as you're a full-time student, are fully funded with a stipend on top of that. Another option that may be available to help finance your degree is on-campus jobs. As an international student, you won't be able to, and on a student visa, you won't be able to work off campus. However, there are some on-campus job opportunities, whether it's through our dining facilities, our recreational or gym facilities. Some of the colleges have student workers that help in their office, but these are options as well. Availability depends on the term and the year. However, if you are interested after you're accepted, that would be I would recommend reaching out to your academic advisor, because they'll be able to point you to in the correct direction as far as offices that may be hiring, and help you start that process. But that is another way to help offset the cost of the program. During the academic year, or if you're in class, or enrolled in classes, you're only able to work 20 hours a week on these on-campus jobs. If you are on a break, or you took a vacation, a term off, or you're not taking classes for a term, you'd be able to work up to 40 hours a week during those on-campus jobs. Some other options, and this is particularly for those that are applying for the master's program, because like I said, for our master's programs, we typically don't have any full scholarships or full tuition waivers for our master's programs, just for the most part, the merit-based scholarships. So I definitely recommend reaching out to some private apply for some private scholarships or private loans. I've provided some resources down here with links to different websites. This first link, International Education Financial Aid website. This website is for international students, and is for private scholarships directly for international students looking to study internationally. I also provided a link for international student loans. This website will help, is primarily for international students looking to study in the United States or Canada, and helping them finance their degree with loans through different banks or private lenders. I'll skip this one for now. Another website is My Scholarly, which was actually founded by Drexel students, but this is another website that is a database for private scholarships. And so you just go on the website, you type in your information, and the program that you're applying for, and it'll list different scholarships that are that may be available for you to apply for. The other option too is our payment plan, Drexel payment plan. And so what this is that they'll break down the term's cost into 3 installments or 3 payments spread out over the course of the term. And so there are a lot of different options here. as far as ways to finance your degree. And I can't preface this enough, but it's very important to, especially if you're applying for master's, to look at these private loans and private scholarships that may be available. Because like I said, the merit-based scholarship is for the most part the only scholarship that is available for master's students. There are some other opportunities, but those are few, and it really depends on the term and funding that's available. And so, like I said, start your research early. Look at these private loans and private scholarship websites, because these are going to be a very handy resource when you're going to apply, when you go to attend Drexel. And so just a few other things. When you complete your application, like I said, you'll automatically be reviewed for those merit-based scholarships, or if you're applying for the PhD program, you'll automatically be reviewed for any, research assistantships or teaching assistantships and things like that. There's no additional steps that you need to take. You just need to submit your application. When you submit your application, it'll be through our Discover Drexel portal, and that will house pretty much everything in regards to your application. So it'll show what documents are required, what are still outstanding. It'll show you the status of your application. And then it will also show you, if accepted, there'll be a financial aid tab, and it'll show you the breakdown of any scholarships that you may have received, as well as the cost of the program. And in this Discover Drexel portal, it'll also show you the steps on how to prepare for your I-20 and starting that visa process. After you're accepted and you confirm, you'll also be connected with your academic advisor, and then we'll also generate and give you access to your Drexel accounts. And like I said, everything is going to be in this Discover Drexel portal, and any scholarships and grants that you may receive will be listed in there as well. And so after acceptance, and if you continue with at Drexel, we have a lot of international student support for our international students. We had over 1,000 international students in the fall of 2022, and actually that has increased slightly to fall of 2023 this past year. We have three main support systems for our international students, particularly for our international students. That is our International Students and Scholar Services Office. This office will help you with all visa questions, all I-20 questions. They'll also talk to you a little bit about financing your degree and helping you find different resources. Another community that we have on campus is our International Graduate Student Association, which is obviously run by our graduate students. They're also a good resource to talk with different financing opportunities, as they're here, so they're have already gone through this process, and they may have additional resources that they use to help finance their degree that I may not know about, or I haven't shared today. Another resource we have is our graduate college, which as a whole primarily serves and helps support our international students. The Graduate College is another good resource to talk about different opportunities that are on campus. And another, I spoke briefly earlier about on-campus employment. This is another good option. The Graduate College is another good resource to help you find those on-campus positions. And so as you're doing your research, I did share some links in this presentation that will be made available to you, but some additional resources on our website are our admissions blog, which will talk about different tips and tricks for your application. We do offer some virtual tours. If you're looking at our online program, we have our online test drive, which will give you a good idea of how our online programs are structured. It'll simulate a class for you. And so it gives you a good idea of what to expect. And then I also recommend checking out our admissions representatives or our enrollment counselors page to do research and find out what programs or which enrollment counselor oversees your programs, because they would be the best resource for you to discuss different opportunities, discuss the program, or the application process for your specific program. And this is my last slide, just a few additional resources on our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want a look at Drexel from the eyes of a student, definitely check out these social media sites. They do a good job of showing you around campus, different events that Drexel holds, different events around Philadelphia, and why Philadelphia is home for a lot of us at Drexel. And then on this last site, if you have any questions, our phone number is right here. You can also email us at enroll@drexel.edu. That's our general graduate admissions email. If you email here, it will be directed to the enrollment counselor that oversees your program. So if you're unsure where to start, this is the perfect place. Just send us an email. We'll be happy to get back to you. And so at this point, I believe we'll open it to questions, and I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you for the detailed presentation. So the first question is from a student who is asking that, can somebody with a medical background at the undergraduate level get admission to a master's program in a business degree?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say a good chunk of our business programs, especially the MBA, they don't have a particular background that you need. You just need to have a bachelor's degree. When you get into some of the business programs that are a little bit more like business analytics, they want to see that you have a math background or a computer science background. But for most of our general business programs, they're not looking for any particular bachelor's degree. We actually do have a within our College of Business a program for health administration, which is basically the MBA but focused in the healthcare area, which is nice.
Can you talk a little bit about, for students who like switch degrees like this, is there any support available?
For people that want to transfer in?
Yeah, for people who want to switch fields, like for instance, somebody with a medical background or like a pre-med background wants to now switch to business. Any hurdles or any support available for students?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely reach out to us at enroll@drexel.edu, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have or connect you with the appropriate person. The thing I'll mention about Drexel is that a lot of our programs are flexible, and what I mean by that is that with our MBA. It's with the MBA, it's just a general business degree, but you have the ability, if you have an idea of like, this is where I want my career to go, there are opportunities within the program to help focus your master's into that area so that when you graduate, you're already kind of set up for the career that you want. A lot of our college also have programs that are, and I forget the word, but they work together to have they'll share similar classes so that you can get a background in, like, so if you have a healthcare background or a medical background and you want to still stay in that area, but you want to have a business, go more into the business side, we have, like I said, that healthcare administration that has some of those healthcare classes, but also has a number of business classes. And so that you have that dual background that will make you more marketable when you go into the workforce.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So, for those of you who are asking for recordings, yes, we can share the recording with you. Please email us and I'd be more than happy to share it. Also, for those of you asking for links, please email us at the Lahore email address and we will share the presentation with you sometime next week. So another question is, do students require is work experience required for students before applying for an MBA?
For the MBA, they generally do want to see some work experience. They're not looking for 10, 15, 20 years of work experience, but generally like 1 to 2 years. It is semi-flexible, but generally they're looking for at least a little bit of work experience.
Thank you for that. So the next question is a study gap acceptable for masters? I have done bachelor's in 2016 and after that I was working for 7 years. Does that affect my application?
Can you repeat the first part of that question?
Yeah, so they're asking if a gap, like a study,
Oh,
a gap year of 7 years is acceptable. They did their bachelor's in 2016 and then worked after that. So they're asking if that will affect their application negatively in any way.
no. I would say a majority of our applicants have some sort of gap time between, their bachelor's degree and when they're applying for a master's degree. Some even have like 10, 15 years of work experience before they even come back to get their master's. Our programs at Drexel are flexible and are catered towards individuals who are working full time or have those that work experience or those gaps, and so you'll see within the programs a wide variety of people from all kinds of different backgrounds with all sorts of levels of different work experience. So that wouldn't affect your application negatively. No.
Thank you, Zeke. So the next question is, do you have an application deadline for PhD in biomedical sciences? Do you have an application deadline, basically?
Yeah, those would be listed on our website. It really depends on when you're looking to apply for our PhD programs. It really depends on the program, but generally those PhD deadlines are going to be in December for the next fall. So for this spring, for most of our PhD programs, the application, or I'm sorry, for this upcoming fall, the PhD applications have closed, but for next year, those will be open here in a couple months. And like I said, typically those deadlines are around December, but it really varies by program and by whichever PhD program you choose. And so I would definitely recommend reaching out to us so that we can give you specific deadlines.
Thank you for that. So next question is from a student who's asking if you have any opportunities for postdoc.
There are a few opportunities. I'm not, I don't have all of that information, but there are some postdoc opportunities at Drexel. Again, email us and we'll be happy to connect you with the specific college or the specific program that would have that.
Thank you for that. So another question is, can you please emphasize a little on tips for enhancing your application when applying to Drexel University?
Yeah, definitely. I think like I said, we take a holistic approach when reviewing applications. So we look at all aspects of it. And so, grades are obviously very important, but it's not the only thing that we look at. Generally, we're looking for about a 3.0 for most of our programs. And so if you fall slightly below that, it doesn't write you off from applying to the program. In those cases, I would definitely recommend having strong letters of recommendation. In your essay, talk a little bit about, maybe why your GPA is a little bit lower. Life is crazy, things happen. Some of us have a rough first year, but then pick it up as we go on. And so talk a little bit about that in the essay, because, we look at each applicant that comes in as a whole person and not necessarily a checklist. And so we want to get a good idea of you as a person and as a student. Another thing to keep in mind too is that one of Drexel's core values is civic engagement. And so we want to see, from our applicants that they are involved within their community, on campus, whether that's volunteering, they started their own business, things like that. We want to see Drexel students are go-getters, and they, definitely take the initiative, and we want to see that out of our applicants. So including that in your resume, or even talking a little bit about in your essay will definitely be helpful as well.
Thank you for that. So a student is asking, will my application receive a fellowship if I have applied to a grad program that does not require a GRE test? Or is GRE inherently compulsory for a scholarship?
So I'm gonna break this into two parts. For the master's programs, for most of our master's programs, the GRE is not required. For the merit-based scholarships, they're going to be basing that off of your GPA from your undergraduate studies. And so the GRE is not required. For the PhD programs, for some of them, the GRE is not required. For some of them, they are. It really depends. If you are looking for specifics, or you want to, confirm whether or not the GRE is required, definitely reach out to us and we'll be able to give you that specific information.
Thank you for answering that question. Another question comes from Samuel. He's asking that if he's currently doing masters in Pakistan, can he transfer to Drexel?
Yeah, it's a possibility. We're only able to accept up to I believe it's 14 transfer credits. And so if you're almost done with the program and you transfer to Drexel, odds are you're going to be have to take a lot of the same classes. If you're early on in the program, that's definitely, a possibility. If you're thinking about that option, for any of that, it would be important to reach out to us so that we can connect you with the department, because they'll have to review your transcripts and look at some of the syllabi from those classes to make to see if any of those credits would be able to be transferred over. And so it is a process, and I can't give you a specific answer because it really depends. But for that, if you have any questions regarding transferring or transfer credits, definitely reach out to us, and we'll connect you with the department for you to discuss that opportunity or that option.
Thank you. Next question is, you mentioned that the PhDs at Drexel are fully funded. What is the cost of living in Philly? And will this stipend be sufficient to cover that?
Yeah, the stipend is generally a little over 20,000 for the year. And so, but it really varies by program, by the funding. The average is about 20,000. Living in Philly is depending on where you live is relatively affordable. Especially around campus, there are a number of like student-specific housing that is a little bit cheaper than rent across the city, and you have to be a student at Drexel to live in them. So those are options as well. We do also have on-campus grad housing that is, has a kitchen, it's fully furnished, and so that is an option as well. That's going to be cheaper than other parts of the city. But generally, if you live within the immediate area of Drexel, you'll be able to find some affordable student housing.
Thank you. Next question is, are there any opportunities for networking with alumni?
Yeah, there's networking opportunities all the time, especially within our business school, our engineering school, medical school definitely, and our computing and informatics college. They will hold a number of different networking opportunities, and even within the program, a lot of times the professors will have alumni come in that have just joined the workforce to talk a little bit about their experience, about their company, and help you transition from being a Drexel student to the workforce. We also have our career development center that hosts a lot of alumni events, as well as preparing you for applying for jobs, helping you with your resume, cover letter, interviewing, things like that. We also have a number of grad fairs and job fairs that we have on campus. And a lot of times alumni will come back and work those events for their companies, which is awesome.
Thank you. Another student is asking if they can directly get admitted into PhD after a bachelor's.
Yeah, for some of our PhD programs, that is a possibility. A lot of our engineering programs are like that. A lot of our computing and informatics programs are like that. And a lot of our arts and sciences programs are like that. Those are very competitive. And again, it depends on funding, but that is a possibility.
Thank you. So for international students, can PhD students can they bring in dependents?
To live on campus or?
Both. Can you answer in both scenarios?
Yeah. So to live on campus, the on-campus housing doesn't have like family sort of suites. They're more for single students. However, so Drexel University in Philadelphia is located what we call University City. And so there's a lot of colleges within this area. We have Penn, we have Drexel, obviously, St. Joe's. There's a lot of different schools. And so with that, there's a lot of affordable student housing. And within that housing, there may be some larger spaces for families. As far as the visa process with that, I'm not 100% sure. That'd be a question for our ISSS office.
Sorry, I was on. Another question we have is, does the university offer graduate assistantship in education major, or if students are attending the webinar, they want to get information about assistantships for their specific discipline, can you like reroute them somewhere?
Yeah. So if you do have questions about assistantships and things like that, send us an email at enroll@drexel.edu, and we'll be able to connect you, like I said, with the specific enrollment counselor that works with those programs that's going to have more information on that. As far as our education programs, We have a PhD in education that is fully funded. Outside that, none of the other education programs are fully funded, and they don't have graduate assistantships, teaching assistantships. That's just for the PhD in education. The other thing I should note about our education programs at the master's level is that all of them are online and not on campus.
You. Next question is, when will the applications for next fall open? Does Drexel have rolling applications?
So next fall being fall of 2026.
Sorry?
Or I guess that would be fall of 2025, correct?
Fall 2025, yes.
Yeah. So those applications, some of them are open now, but all of them will be open starting right around September of this upcoming fall.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about campus culture, what it is like for graduate students?
Yeah, Drexel is located right in the heart of Philadelphia, so there's a lot of different opportunities to get involved on campus or within the community. Drexel, through the Graduate Student Association, they hold a lot of networking events, on-campus events, to help you get acclimated to campus, help you get help you get acclimated to the city as a whole. And so they do a lot of like field trips into the city, especially as an international student. When you come to campus, our Graduate Student Association actually sets up some trips to local shopping areas and in different areas of the city to show you around, help you set up your living space, and just kind of show you what everything that Philly has to offer. Drexel actually is like right next door to Penn. It's right across the street, and so there's a lot of different events that happen at both campuses that would be available to you. We have a lot of resources on campus for international students and students in general. Our Career Development Center, we have a gym on campus. There's a lot of sporting events, basketball, soccer, we have a squash team, rowing. And so there's a lot of things to do, things to see on campus. Everybody's super friendly and welcoming. And Drexel's fun to just kind of walk through. It's a beautiful campus. It's a beautiful area. There's a lot of good views of Philly. There's also right in the middle of campus, we call it Food Truck Alley. And so there's a lot of different food trucks there, really good food. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I work for them, but it really is an awesome place. And it's definitely where a lot of us call home. So.
Thank you for such a detailed answer. A student is asking, can they switch major? Like once they're enrolled in a program for master's, can they switch majors?
Yeah, it'll depend on the program. If you are like, let's say, for example, if you're in engineering and you want to change your major to a different engineering program, that is going to be a little bit more of an easy process. Now, if you're in engineering and you want to switch to the medical field, that's where it gets a little bit more difficult. So I don't know if that answers your question. It really depends on what your current program is and what you're looking to transfer to.
I understand that. Well, another question that comes in, this is the last question, so we're 4 minutes from closing time. How many Pakistanis are at Drexel? Does Drexel have a strong Pakistani community?
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers for this academic year, but I know that we had so I guess this would be of 2022. We had about 100, a little over 100 students confirm and actually attend. We have a lot more apply. And so we're definitely trying to work with our the Pakistani community and do these outreaches, because we do really value those students on our campus, and they really add to our culture and the experience at Drexel.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you to all the students who tuned in. I know many of you want to get presentations. Please email us at lahore@educationusa.org, and I will share the presentation with you soon. Thank you for attending, and you can find us on the email I mentioned, and then you can always register with us on educationusa.pk for our events in the future. Thank you, Zeke, for taking our time, and I really appreciate all the information that you gave out today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, if you have any questions, definitely reach out. We'll be happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.